Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
The Dominica government and Ross University could face off in court. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, November 2. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Dominica government says it's prepared to take legal action against U.S.-owned Ross University regarding the ownership and occupation of buildings on lands that had been leased to the offshore medical institution that has since been relocated to Barbados. Speaking at a diaspora meeting on Thursday, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit said Dominica had entered into an agreement for the lease of the land in the north of the island where the university had its campus.
We have a slight advantage where this is concerned in that the campus belongs to the state. A lease agreement was entered into between Ross University and the government of Dominica, leasing the 27.2 or so acres to Ross. And in that lease, it states very clearly, and even our laws, our existing laws, make this very clear also, that if you leasing property to somebody and anything they build upon it, it will belong to the property owner.
Earlier this year, Ross University left Dominica under controversial circumstances after having been on the island for the past 40 years. The university later defended its decision to relocate to Bridgetown, saying it had been taken after considerable deliberations, including a review of its academic and infrastructural requirements and future plan. Skerrit says if the university doesn't want to move when asked, he's prepared to take them to court.
I really want Ross to hand over this business to us sooner rather than later. The Attorney General is in discussion with them, and the sooner they can get out is better for us, because they're out already. And if they do not want to move, when they want them to move, we'll take them to court.
Education officials in Belize are calling on the National Teachers Union, the BNTU, to rethink its position on planned industrial action from next week. The union is accusing the Dean Barrow government of stalling on a number of issues affecting teachers. It says that no agreement had been reached with the Ministry of Education on issues such as hardship allowances for teachers in remote areas of the country, stalled negotiations, and what the union calls the disrespect being shown by Education Minister Patrick Faber. Now, BNTU National President Elena Smith says the union is no longer prepared to accept the situation and will not remain silent in the face of what it regards as unfair treatment from the authorities. Guyana's Finance Minister Winston Jordan says he foresees more money in the pockets of government employees from the first set of profits the country gets from oil production. We get more in this HGP Nightly News report.
As Hess and ExxonMobil prepare for more exploration offshore Guyana, first oil is not due until 2020. An estimated $300 million United States dollars is expected to be raked in that year. With that in mind, Finance Minister Winston Jordan suggested that government workers would receive salary increases when Guyana produces first oil in 2020.
I foresee improvement in the social and economic status of Guyana. All right? I foresee improvements, progressive improvements in the human, cultural, and every other developmental aspect of the country. I know that we have been through lean periods, and for many of us, I don't see too many of us my age, but certainly those who lived through the 80s would have understood what it means about structural adjustment, and to have incomes overnight turn into pennies because of the significant devaluations that we have had.
Minister Jordan was cautious in explaining the rationale behind the possible increase in wages and salaries.
Including everything. But you have to take everything in context. We don't want to have a situation where I give you $2 and you lose $3. Okay? So one of the big things that has to happen is production has to be pulled up. We have to diversify. Because otherwise you're going to just go on the internet and you're going to pick up Amazon and somebody else and, you know, and then you're going to be asking for more salary because you have to buy more from Amazon and so on. So I think essentially we have to blend productivity with production.
Some 120,000 barrels of oil per day is expected to be produced from Liza Phase 1 alone. That's approximately $6 billion Ghana dollars annually. That sum, as explained by the finance minister, would be deposited into the Sovereign Wealth Fund and some withdrawn for economic development.
Private sector leaders in Jamaica are calling on tourism officials to take more decisive action to curtail the fallout from an international news report about alleged rape cases at some hotels in the island. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
Police lack resources. Third most dangerous country. Those are some of the comments in this recent USA Today article on alleged rape cases at Jamaican hotels. It has already triggered a flurry of calls from would-be visitors questioning the safety of some resorts. It's why the Jamaica Employers Federation, JEF, and the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, have added their voice to the call for a more visible response from the Tourism Ministry and the Jamaica Tourist Board. In the most recent incident at the Rio Reggae Hotel in Montego Bay, St. James, an entertainment coordinator who allegedly raped 2 tourists was linked to previous rape cases in other parishes. JEF President David Wan says while employers do carry out background checks on prospective employees, there needs to be improvements in the system.
What I think is needed is some service level agreements, the police and the employers, and we will help as far as we can with the Employers Federation, sit down and say, can we get a service level commitment? When we make a request, it will be there within a week or 2 weeks, something like that. We need a service level agreement.
The USA Today article quoted the Rio Reggae Hotel's management stating that a police record is always requested for employees, but did not say if one was in fact received for the suspect Demar Scott, who has since been in custody. Mr. Wan believes the improvements must be done urgently to protect not only the tourism industry, but employers in general. This prompt accessibility, he says, should be done for police records,
as well as the sex offender registry, which, as far as I understand, it's in place. I can't vouch for the smoothness of the operation.
Legislation for a sex offenders registry was passed and set up in 2012. PSOJ President Howard Mitchell is also calling for a quick response targeting the global community to prevent any industry fallout.
We think that what must happen with this is there must be a full response from the tourist board, from the hotels that are involved, but it must be put in the context that from what we understand, the data relating to the number of incidents stretches over a 7-year period, and Jamaica over that period had 20 million visitors. Now, we're not minimizing the horrific nature of the alleged incident, but we're saying let's put it in context.
On Wednesday, the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, JHTA, said the Jamaica Tourist Board was contacting tour operators to allay visitors' fears.
And coming up in Caribbean Newsline, police officers vote early in Grenada's CCJ referendum. Stay with us. We have more news after this.
bringing stakeholders in the HIV response to the table.
In every platform, at every stage, wherever the conversation is happening, it is very crucial and important to have somebody living with HIV present.
Tackling stigma and discrimination head on.
We're not going to get there if we don't start looking at stigma and discrimination and providing legal ways of persons getting redress when they face stigma and discrimination.
And charting a way forward for treatment.
I remember the days when there was no treatment and people would go to their support groups to talk about who was in the hospital, who had died last week.
Join the Caribbean Vulnerable Communities Coalition, CVC, on the Coalition Corner, coming soon to this channel.
Police officers in Grenada are casting ballots on Friday ahead of next Tuesday's referendum on replacing the Privy Council with the Caribbean Court of Justice as the island's final appeal court. Supervisor of Elections Alex Phillips says 875 officers were listed to vote in 15 polling stations across the country. He told CMC News the polling stations opened on time and there were no reports of long lines, although there was a steady flow of voters. The ballots cast Friday will be counted on November 6th and added to the total of ballots cast by the rest of the population that day. Meantime, a committee has been established to ensure there is adequate public education about the CCJ, and GBN News took to the streets to find out just how many Grenadians know about the court.
Our first stop was in Guam St. John's.
I think it's something to do with the court system, and to my understanding with what, to me, this thing won't be for poor people.
My name is Calvin Dan, I custom with the previous council. I already know when I do anything wrong, my mother got to write quite the queen. So let we remain there still. I acknowledge of the queen, the previous council, but we are ready for the CCJ yet.
I know of it, I know the CCJ and what it means to us as a people. But if we decide to go off away from the queen, we have to go off from the queen and off from Babylon entirely.
I don't know much about it. I want to find out what about it, what is meaning for that.
I don't know about it, so I ain't going to vote.
If we can trust the administration to spend our tax dollars and they are given the mandate to direct us or to lead us in the right direction, they're telling us that the CCJ is the way to go. So therefore we, as Grenadians, should have the confidence and the trust in the government to lead us in this direction.
Persons on Wednesday who visited the town of Grenville also expressed some similar sentiments. Have you heard, though, anything on the airwaves about the CCJ?
Well, I can't say yes because it doesn't really reach home in time to listen to the radio because I don't know how really good.
I don't know a lot about it.
For me, I think it's a no for me.
Even from my perspective, sufficient information hasn't been made available to me for to make such a decision. That's the reason why such a decision will be hard to make.
I hear about it, but I don't so taking part in it. I don't want to take part in it.
A committee was put in place to assist with the public education. Just how effective they have been will be seen in 5 days when Grenadians head to the poll.
And this week in Newsline Entertainment, we go to Dominica for the return of the World Creole Music Festival.
After cancelling the World Creole Music Festival in 2017 because of the widespread devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, Dominica demonstrated it had what it took to deliver a quality festival a year later. For 3 nights, October 26th to 28th, music lovers from Dominica, the region, and beyond packed the Windsor Park Sports Stadium to hear from a range of artists, including Chronix, Movado, Machel Montano, Kez the Band, Yemi Alade, Asa Banton, Kassav, Class, and Triple K. There was a bit of controversy on the final night when former Haitian President Michel Martelly, who returned to singing as Sweet Mickey after leaving office in February 2016, used expletives on several occasions during his 90-minute performance. Sweet Mickey, known at home for his controversial lyrics and performances, apologized at the end, saying he meant no offense and that he was simply being himself. The singer expressed similar sentiments at the press conference after his performance, but even then, he indicated he would have no hesitation doing it again.
Sorry about those who didn't like it, but I won't retract. If I have to go back on the stage, I'll be the same. Sorry, and I regret that I have offended a few, because as I was leaving the stage, most people were applauding. So I'm happy that I was able to please a majority, and that's what I'm here for.
Despite that situation, Director of Tourism and Head of the World Creole Music Festival Committee, Colin Piper, was satisfied that the festival was a success and said the next thing on the agenda is the island's carnival, scheduled for March next year. Dawn Paris for Newsline Entertainment.
And ahead in Newsline Sports, Shea Hope and Shimron Hetmyer climb the ODI rankings. The details after the break.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. Remain dressed with shoes in the event that an evacuation is required.
Experience exceptional fun, meet amazing people, enjoy fantastic food, and rock the nights away to world-class music at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 3 nights of musical entertainment from the 27th to the 29th of June 2019. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to stkittsmusicfestival.net. St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Barbadian Shea Hope is now the highest-ranked West Indian one-day international batsman, while Shimron Hetmyer has also made a huge leap in the latest MRF Tires ICC men's batting rankings. The two were the highest jumpers in the latest rankings thanks to impressive performances in the just concluded 5-match ODI series against India, which the Windies lost 3-1. Now Hope scored 250 runs in the series at an average of 62.50, which allowed him to rise 22 places to 25th on the list, while Hetmyer, who was the West Indies' leading run scorer in that series with 259 runs at an average of 51.80, has jumped 31 places to now be ranked 26th. The batsmen are enjoying career-high rankings and are separated by only 9 points. Now, India captain Virat Kohli, who completed 10,000 ODI runs on his way to a series aggregate of 453 runs, has consolidated his position as the top-ranked batsman. There is no West Indies bowler in the top 30, with off-spinner Ashley Nurse's ranking of 33 being the highest on the list. Captain Jason Holder is ranked 36th. Deandra Dutton crafted an unbeaten 43 to help the West Indies women defeat England by 5 wickets in an unofficial warm-up match ahead of the start of the ICC Women's World T20 on Thursday night. Playing before a crowd of over 5,000 fans at the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, the home side bowled out the visitors for just 116 in 19.5 overs, with spinners Afi Fletcher and Anissa Mohammed being the main destroyers. The bowling effort was helped by some superb fielding and catching, which saw 2 stunning running catches by Chanel Henry and a brilliant dive pickup and throw by Dutton to effect a run out. Promoted to open the innings for the first time, Dutton then scored 43 not out of 44 balls with a 4 and a 6 to lead the Windies to 117 for 5 of 19.1 overs. She shared 2 important partnerships, firstly 34 for the 4th wicket with Brittany Cooper, who played some classy strokes in 22 of 18 with 2 boundaries and a 6. The second and key partnership was an unbroken 6-wicket stand of 45 with Kaisia Knight, who ended on 16 not out of 18 balls. And switching sports now, Trinidad and Tobago's under-20 football team began their quest for World Cup glory with a come-from-behind victory against St. Vincent and the Grenadines by 3-2. TTT's Ken Fuentes has that story.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines got off to a flying start as they took a 15th-minute lead thanks to a beauty of a strike by Gibson Francis. 4 minutes later, they doubled their lead, and it was Francis again, this time getting his head to the ball past the Denzel Smith in the Young Warriors goal. 2-0, and the Young Warriors with a mountain to climb. But Trinidad and Tobago grew in confidence and halved the St. Vincent and Grenadines lead as Jadon Powell beat the keeper at his far post in the 39th minute. 2-1 St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the break. With time running out, the Young Warriors needed to find the equalizer, and it came off the boot of Mark Ramdeen with a little help from the post. In stoppage time, the winning goal, and it came from the Warriors. The ball played into the box, and Judah Garcia's head was enough to send the ball into the net. 3-2 the final in the favor of Trinidad and Tobago over St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Young Warriors will face Puerto Rico in their second match on Saturday.
Meanwhile, Guyana Football Federation President Wayne Ford explains why he believes the country has sent the best team to the Under-20 World Cup qualifiers. Isan Griffith tells us more.
The national Under-20 football team arrived safely in Florida ahead of the CONCACAF Under-20 Men's Championship in the USA from November 1st to the 22nd. The team departed on Wednesday. The young squad is made up of several locals and 8 international-based players. Head of the federation, Wayne Ford, believes this is one of the best squads assembled for Guyana.
The overall preparation that many of the players that have now included in the national Under-20 setup is fairly extensive. We started off with the play trip, the train play camp in Brazil. They were there for 2 weeks. They did a lot of work. They came back. They were actively playing in the Elite League. And following that, we started the preparation for the U20. So if you were to put it all together, it will be a total of maybe 2.5 solid months or more of preparation for the tournament. So it is I would think in recent times, it's probably the most prepared team that we would have had for any level of competition. So we have to be positive, and but the youngsters still need to go out there and put out the work on the day. You know, football is really about how well prepared you are on the day of the games.
Prior to the departure, the team had several trial matches, which were highly rated by Ford. He gave credit for the work done by head coach Wayne Dover and coaching staff.
I know we have a really experienced management staff. I have a lot of confidence in Coach Wayne Dover. He's supported by Coach Wilson Toledo, who has done a tremendous job with those players as well. He is an integral member of the coaching staff. We have some new coaches that are going to be sharpening their own craft during this tour and over the past couple of weeks. So I'm very positive about what the results that we can come away with at the end of this competition.
The national Under-20 team will match skills against Guatemala, Cayman Islands, Curacao, El Salvador in the group matches.
Usain Bolt's dream of becoming a professional footballer has been put on hold after the 8-time Olympic gold medalist parted ways with Australian A-League outfit Central Coast Mariners. The Mariners said in a statement on Thursday that the decision was made after Bolt's representatives were unable to find a suitable commercial partner to supplement a prospective contract. According to reports, the 32-year-old was seeking an annual salary of $3 million, but the offer was on the table was apparently set at $150,000 per year. And while the Australian Footballer Association was prepared to help the Mariners fund the deal, the total proposal ultimately fell short. In a short statement, the 100-meter and 200-meter Olympic record holder thanked the Mariners for the opportunity. Now, during his negotiations with the club, Bolt turned down a 2-year offer from Maltese outfit Valletta FC. That's for sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Me need you in my chariot for surrender in the city. Pretty. Sexy little finny and she pretty like a lily. Me love me farmer, them to me heart. Me would do the earth, one of them. Real killy dead to the end, dead from me start. Me real better them. Cause them no know when we are by tree. Trench stone stepping it hard. Fire in some shot.
Joy voice because I'm Trini, he's Trini, and he's a very positive guy. Love him. The message he sends is very positive. Go boys, yeah Trini.
Look to the horizon, tell yourself you will not fail, you will be there, you are a titan. Jump it, you can't hear. Jiggle up the body, girl.
Again, the major developments of this day: the Dominican government prepared to take legal action against Ross University over the ownership and occupation of buildings on lands that had been leased to the offshore medical institution. And in sport, West Indies cricketers Shane Hope and Shimron Hetmeyer climbed the ODI rankings. As Caribbean Newsline for news and sports around the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com. We'll be back here again on Monday. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.